Hello everyone and welcome back to our survival game series. In the previous episode we started looking at building our build system, and in this episode we're going to go through the process of creating our build menu so we can see all the various things that we can build with the materials we have on hand. So let's take a look at how we start achieving this. Okay, so what we're going to be looking at doing is putting our building piece data into some kind of UI so we can choose the object from our list. So it's going to make it part of our inventory UI. So at the moment we're doing I to go into inventory. What we're going to do is do a different tab up here, which allows us to switch between inventory and build menu. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. What we need to do is go to our inventory UI first of all, and take a look at what we're doing with this, and you'll see our inventory grid player menu. There you go. So there's our player menu, and this one is going to be a bit more generic and contain more things than just the inventory grid. For this to work, we need to have a tab menu first of all, and then we have a switcher to handle the switching between two different UIs. So we're going to right click on our inventory grid and wrap with a widget switcher, and we're going to name that one switcher, and then we're going to wrap that again with a vertical box. So the vertical box contains the switcher, and the switcher you want to make sure is set to fill, so it pushes it down and fills up the available space. Inside our vertical box, we're going to have a horizontal box to be the tab menu. So let's just add a horizontal box to the top of that. So here's above the switcher there. And temporarily, we're just going to use a button. We can obviously replace this later on with something a bit more flashy if we want to make things look nicer. So there's my button there. And we're going to add some text to this. Like so. I'll change the size of my text font here to 16. And we'll put this one as inventory. And let's just recolor these buttons and text here. So I'm going to make it a sort of a bit like the background we've got here. So on the background color, I'm going to click on this, and we're going to go down to black and put that as 0.8. It might be 0.6. I can't remember what we did now for that. Let's try 0.6. Yeah, that'll do. So we've got this sort of effect going on. And that's inventory button. We're now going to duplicate that button by selecting it and doing Control D, and it'll do a second one. And I'm just going to rename this one to be the build menu. There. Now, aesthetically, we're going to make these buttons look the same sort of size because it looks weird when they're two different sizes. So we're going to go to our horizontal box contents, which are the two buttons, and you'll select them all and go fill. Now what this is going to do is going to spread them out across this whole entire space, which you may want to be like that, but we'll give it options to add some spacing later on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a spacer to sort of block out an empty space in there too. We'll put that in with the buttons, and on the spacer I also hit fill, and you'll see it separates it down to 3 spaces. So I've got inventory, build, and a blank space. So if I was to go to that spacer and change the space here from 1 to say 2, it will now take up 2 spaces. So inventory, build, space, space. 3, inventory, build, space, space, space. Okay, so you can customize how long you want it to be. So if you want to add another button to this, you can do. You just take the spacer and reduce its size. Okay, so we've got the tabs going up here. We're going to rename our buttons. So this will be button inventory tab. And this button here will be button build tab. And we're going to make them switch between the two. So my inventory grid is the only one that's showing, but if I were to put in a temporary one, just put a border in. like white one will be our build for temporarily. We'll make the buttons switch between the two. So I'm going to go to my inventory tab, scroll down and hit the on click button. And then this event will fire, and we want to tell our switcher to set the active widget to the inventory grid. So we just drag that out, plug that in. And then for build tab, we do exactly the same. This time we want to change it so it's not inventory grid, but instead that border that we put in. And I didn't tick variable, so I need to go back and hit the border. I'm going to leave it as border 117 because we'll be replacing it soon with our build menu. There, like that. Okay, so that's our tab menu working. So let's just take that in game. Hit I, and I've got inventory there, build there, and I can switch between the two. Okay, that's all good. Right, now we're going to do the build menu UI. So I'm going to go back to my build system folder, and we'll create a new folder for UI. And in here, we're going to create a new widget blueprint. W underscore, and then we'll do build menu. We're also going to need the building slot. So each item we can possibly build will also be a dynamically built slot that we can provide information about. So I'm going to create another widget, and this would be W build menu slot. Okay, so you're going to build menu, you want to go on here. And in here, we're going to do a wrap box. Actually, I'll tell you what, we'll do it a vertical box. We'll do it a slightly different style. Do a vertical box. And, oh, actually, no. So we'll replace that with a scroll box. That'd be better. So a scroll box is the same as a vertical box, except that it can scroll. So if it overflows, it will turn into a scroller. Yeah, I'm going to have that so we can scroll through our list if it gets too long. And we'll just wrap that also with a border so you can get the same sort of style as our inventory grid. I'm just going to open up our inventory systems one. Copy its style basically. My border, and I'm going to take brush color, copy that, and paste it there. Cool. So it works the same way we're doing our inventory grid here, but instead of doing a grid, we'll do a list. So we're going to do tick the scroll box to be variable, scroll box, and because it's variable, it means that we're going to add stuff to it. Okay, so we now need to make the slot. So I'm going to go back to my build systems UI folder, go to build menu slot, and in here we'll design what we want our slot to be. So there will be a button. This. But its contents will be a bit more complex. So in here, we're going to put in another panel. We'll do a horizontal box. And for that, we're going to do an image for its thumbnail. The text for its title, its description. Recipe-wise, how should we make the recipe show? So the recipe, we could do it as icons, or we could do it as words. Let's do it as icons, but I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna put it as another horizontal box in here for a second. We'll do a wrap box. Wrap box. I'm doubting myself now. What do I want to do? Yeah, I'll do a wrap box. Put that in there, and that wrap box would be where we store the recipe. Yeah, I think that'll do. And then we're going to just style it out. So on a horizontal box here, we're going to stretch it across the whole entire thing. And obviously, like, it's not going to look this big. We can just change its display size if we want on the screen, so we can see roughly what it's going to be roughly like. So imagine it's something like this. Okay. So on the horizontal box there, I want it stretched out across our entire thing. The image, I'm going to change the size to 64 by 64, and I'm going to center align it. There you go. The text name for the object, we're going to do center align in vertical, and I'm going to add some padding to the left of that as well. Yeah. And we'll just label these as well whilst we go. So that's text name, I guess we'll call it. Make sure tick is variable. This would be the thumbnail. And the wrap box here, we're going to set to fill the available space like that. And we'll say that as a recipe box. And again, that'll be variable, and that'll be dynamically built as well with its own sub widgets, but we won't worry about that just yet. We just want to get these things displaying in game. Okay, so we've got that in there. I'm going to change the button style slightly too. Go to background color. Let's just paste that one in there. Yep, still got it there. And there we go. Okay, I'm also going to add a little bit of padding to this thing too. So if I go up to my build menu slot at the top of the hierarchy, you can go over to the right hand side and add padding. This will add padding to the whole widget. So not just one element of it, it will do the whole thing. So I'm going to add a padding of 5 to the whole entire thing. So when I add multiple together and stack them on top of each other, you're going to get 5 gap in between each one. So I can now go back to my build menu. And on the graph here, I want it to add all the build menu options I could possibly build. Now at the moment, our build options are quite slim. All we've got is just our fire pit that we did last time. So all I need to do is have some sort of like record of all the possible build items we could have. Now for a game like this, the build menu will probably be quite static. It won't change much. What would change though would probably be like what ones are visible or which ones are ordered in, so you don't have to scroll down the whole list to see the ones you can build. It'll just surface the ones you can build to the top or just show them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my build menu here, go to my designer, and inside the scroll box, I'm going to add in my build menu slot. There you go. Now at the moment, it's just going to say the blank default stuff, like text block, but I would go through and add one for every single item I have in game. Yeah. Now, if you have a data table version of your build menu, you can just go cycle through that. But because the thing is not going to change much, we're just going to change their visibility based upon what we've got. We can just hard code what we want in our build menu to be in here. So what I'm going to do is my build menu slot is make it so on the right hand side I can choose what item it's going to be. I'm going to go to build menu slot, go to its graph, and on the variables, I'm going to do build menu item. And open this up. And we're going to go build. And we want the DA, the data asset for the building piece. You make that editable. I'll take a little eyeball icon. And hit compile and save. We're now going to go to the pre-construct. And we'll take the build menu item. And we'll get the name. And set that to our text we've got here. Set text. Plug that in. Plug that in. And we also want our thumbnail. Set brush from texture. And we go for the build menu item. Did I not have a thumbnail on there? I can't recall what I did. No. Okay, let's do that. Thumbnail. And that'll be a texture 2D. So we can now assign that on here. Back out for my reference and to it being a thumbnail. There you go. It appears down now. Put it in there. Recipe stuff we'll do next time, but for now, that'll do. So if I go over to back to my build menu, I can click on this first one. On the right hand side, I can now choose the build menu item this one represents. And I can choose fire pit. And you see it's going to change to fire pit. And so if I have other things, I'll click on there, each one, and just add them each to our list here. So let's take a look at what that appears like in the game. So if I go to my build menu. Oh, I didn't replace it. Whoops. We go to our inventory, UI, player menu, and we're going to replace that border with our build menu. Just make sure you go back to your graph and change the border here for the build menu. Okay. So now when I go back in, build menu, and there's fire pit. Okay, there's a scroll box going down. Excellent. So all these access nuns are just because I've got a lot of empty ones. That's simple enough to get rid of those errors away. Go to my UI, build menu slot, and go to the graph. And on the pre-construct, I only want to do this stuff if this reference is valid. So convert to validate get is valid. Go into there. Okay, and now get rid of that error message coming up. So now I'm going to bring in an icon to in here. Let's do icons. Open it up. And I'm going to just bring in a icon I've got for my fire pit. Okay, like that. And I just need to go to my data asset for my fire pit. There you go. And set that over here to our, it's called Pyre, isn't it? Yeah, Pyre. Whilst we're here, we can also set the class. Because now we've got the fire pit, we can set the fire pit class to this. And there we go. And recipe, we've got wood equals 3. So that's what we'll do next time, is we'll build the recipe menu up and show that on our screen too. Let's take a look at the fire pit thumbnail being used in the game. So go to I, build, and there's fire pit. So there you go. We've now got our build menu displaying what items we can build. But in the next episode, we're going to go through the process of adding what recipes they can have as well. So we can display what are the ingredients we need in order to build our fire pit, for example. So catch that next episode right now over on patreon.com/Ryan Laley, where you can find all my videos early from just $1 a month. Thank you so much to all the patrons and YouTube members for their continued support. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all next time. Bye, everyone.